Welcome everybody to the first session of Flipped Learning. Rosalind and I are happy to have you today and explore the topic of flipped learning. What is it? What does it look like? We'll then get into discussing some of the myths and some of the benefits for our students. Let's go. First, let's dive right into what is the concept of a flipped class. The concept of a flipped class is this: that which is traditionally done in class is now done at home, and that which is traditionally done at homework is now completed in class. The creators of Flipped Learning, Jonathan Bergman and Aaron Sams, along with the people at the Flipped Learning Network, have identified 4 pillars of flipped learning: the flexible environment, learning culture, intentional content, and the professional educator. We'll be focusing mostly on intentional content the next 2 seminars. However, next year everybody will be going through the Pearson training, where you will explore more in depth each of these 4 pillars of the flipped learning. Let's watch a short video that describes the flipped classroom in 60 seconds.
Hi, I'm Julie Schell, and I'm going to provide a 60-second definition of a flipped classroom aided by a terrific visual from the Center for Teaching and Learning at the University of Texas at Austin. Alright, let's go. The easiest way to define a flipped classroom is to think about it in contrast to a traditional class. In a traditional class, students usually get first exposure to course content inside the classroom via direct instruction from their teachers. For example, the first time they hear about the Pythagorean theorem happens during class time. In a flipped class, that first exposure to content happens before the class meets. Students prepare for class time by doing some kind of coverage activity. For example, by watching a lecture video created by their teacher or created by someone else, or by completing a reading assignment. During class, students work on applying the key concepts or ideas they covered in their out-of-class work. They interact with their peers and their instructors during class time. The cycle completes when, after class, students use that feedback gained during class time to further their learning by reviewing concepts they found difficult, confusing, or interesting. Streaming throughout the entire process are the learning goals, the big picture ideas regarding what students should know and be able to do with the particular content being studied. And that's the flipped classroom in 60 seconds.
So there it is, a quick explanation of the flipped classroom. If you noticed when she was speaking, she mentioned multiple ways to prepare students before class began, using a teacher-created video or a video that a teacher finds already created on the web, or even a reading or activity that you could send home before. When we talk about the teacher-created video, the already produced video, the reading or activity that a teacher chooses to send home, this is all considered intentional content. What do you want the students to know before they even walk into your classroom? This is key, and this will start to set up your class to look a little bit differently. Let's take a look at what a flipped learning class might look like. Here's a quick breakdown of what a non-flipped classroom might look like as compared to a flipped classroom. If you notice, both have a warm-up activity. Still getting students settled into class, opening up their minds and ideas to get started on that day's activity. Then, instead of going over the previous night's homework, the first 10 minutes of a flipped classroom is usually used for question and answer time on the video or the intentional content. What did students question? What didn't they understand? And what do they still need to know about it before they can use the information? Next, you have a full 65 minutes of guided and independent practice, a lab activity, a discussion, a debate, many other activities that we already do in our classroom, but we feel crunched for time. Because we've gotten rid of this 25 to 35 minutes of delivering new content, we can use this time directly to work with our students and give them more guided and independent practice. One question many people have is, what should the students be doing while watching the videos? Well, here's one strategy. It's called WISC. WISC stands for Watch, First, the students watch the video. Then, the student summarizes the video. Have the students summarize in their own words to see what they got from the video. And finally, students question. They write down questions they have about specific points in the video so that you can directly address those questions at the beginning of the next class. Here's a quick note sheet I found online that describes the process of Whisk. Students can watch the video, check it off, then they would summarize in their notebook or on a note sheet that you provide, and then write down 1 or 2 key questions that they have about the video and the intentional content. Whisk is just one of many strategies that we'll be exploring more as we get students to engage with the intentional content. Now that we have a basic understanding of what the flipped classroom is, what the timing might look like, and one strategy that students could use while watching intentional content, let's go ahead and continue our conversation. Plus, there are bonus points for people who can identify the many mistakes that I made while recording this video. It's bound to happen, so hopefully you can find them. Now let's go ahead and continue our conversation by looking at the myths of flipped learning and some of the benefits for our students. Thanks for listening.